BreeAnna Guerra, who is currently a student here at Colorado State University of Pueblo. Marisa Diaz Bonacquisti, who recently graduated from the Colorado College in Colorado Springs. And Ysabelle Rosales, who is our 2025 Yes Collins in the fall. So at this time, I'm going to allow each of our speakers to introduce themselves and share a little bit about them and their experiences with you all. And I have some questions that they have been thinking about over the last couple of weeks, and then we'll open up some questions to the audience. This is a great opportunity for us to hear what our younger community members are experiencing and what's on the top of their minds and some issues that are important to them.
Bienvenidos a todos, todes. My name is Bree, full name BreeAnna Guerra. I am an undergrad student here. I'm currently studying for a double major in history and Spanish with a focus in translation, and I'm also studying my minor in Chicano studies. So, where do I begin? I'm very proud of who I am, where I come from. My family is one of the oldest families here in Pueblo. Of course, that is through my indigenous ancestry, but my Hispano ancestry as well. My great-great-great-grandfather is Charles Ottoby, and he's one of the founders of Pueblo's first settlements. I also have roots in what was then known as Villa Morelos, San Luis Potosi, but it's now known as Armadillo de los Infantes, through my mother's side, my maternal side. And on my paternal side, I have roots in Amalia, New Mexico. And so these lands that we stand on, we learn upon today, I'm very connected, very rooted in them, very proud of them. And my love is here, which is why I want to give thanks to my mentors, Rita, Victoria, and all the other women in my life who really pushed me to be where I'm at today in this room and to pursue higher education. If it wasn't for them, for their consejos, I would not be sitting here speaking to you all. My hopes in attaining a college education is to give back to my people, my communities, in whichever way I can. Titles, degrees, those don't always equate to knowledge or to pristineness, but being Chicana, being reconnected indigenous woman, an indigenous person, it's important to take up space in these institutions and to use, the tools that are before us and to turn them around and really, again, give back to those who paved the way for us to be here and to continue to uplift us and support us. So, Tlazokamati, thank you to everyone. I also want to give a shout out to my prima, my cousin who's here, Diaz, in preserving a lot of our family's legacy and stories, which, is so important. So, thank you.
And my community goals mainly center around combating gentrification and protecting the Chicana community in North Denver, but Denver as a whole, and also just across Colorado. I also really hope to center Colorado more in Chicano discourse, as I feel like a lot of times we are kind of left out of the conversation. So, thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Ysabelle Rosales. I am 18 years old and I have the absolute honor of serving as a 2025 Colorado State Fair Fiesta Queen. I will be starting my freshman year at Colorado State University Fort Collins in the fall, and I'm studying marketing and mass communications. I've been born and raised in Pueblo. I have a few research interests. I kind of like learning about everything. This last year, my senior year of high school, I was able to take some concurrent enrollment classes here at CSUP, and I just kind of took random classes so I could kind of figure out what I wanted to do for my major. I took a sociology class, I was really interested in that, and right now I'm taking an art appreciation class, which I'm also really enjoying. Some of my goals as a student and a leader in our community, my main goal is I want to give back to the community who has always given me so much. There's no way that I would have been able to be sitting here right now in this crown and in this sash without the love and support that I've gotten from my community. I always want to represent Colorado in a positive manner, especially through this crown. And I want to act as a positive role model for people who look like me. I think that that's very important to have representation in higher education along with just scholarships and places like that. And another big goal that I have is I want to attain my degree and educate myself because I know that I have the opportunity that some people don't get to have. So, yes, thank you.
Our first question is, how do art and storytelling help communities process historical trauma and reclaim cultural identity?
So, I am a big believer in creator and ancestors will help you get to where you're meant to be. And I was asked by April to be on this panel a while back when we were, searching for our Chicano study professor. And at the time, I knew the title or the messaging behind today. But I recently, a few months ago when the last semester was ending, I was encouraged to join the McNair's program, which is a program that helps serve historically marginalized, underrepresented, and first generation students on their pathway to grad school. And what you have to do when you're in that program is learn research, how to conduct research, what research design is. And when I was in the class for it, I felt so overwhelmed. Like, my professor was speaking foreign languages. I had to read the sentences within the textbook like 10 times over to try to really comprehend what was being said. I didn't understand it, and I started to second guess myself, like, is this where I'm meant to be? Like, am I really cut out to be a grad student and, get my master's and maybe one day my PhD? And it really started to make me feel down because as a Chicana in higher education, I feel like imposter syndrome is a real thing, and I didn't even imagine myself here to begin with. So to take on new challenges is just like, oh, I know titles aren't everything, but gee. Anyway, so I didn't know what I wanted to do for my research project until I was reorganizing my bookshelf, and at that time I was also in the History of Mexico course with our wonderful Dr. Gobian. And anyways, I was organizing my books, and I, came across our family story that was compiled of my great-great-grandparents' oral stories, and it was they were transcribed by my mother's cousin. And so, I was like, I'm gonna go show this to my professor. This is really cool. It really goes hand in hand with our History of Mexico course. We are reading a textbook that is written by a historian, so it's very scholarly. like, this is it. This is what we're gonna do your research project on. This is perfect. This is what we're missing. We're missing the voices of the people themselves. And so I felt so elated, so happy, because again, I took it as a sign from my ancestors, from the universe, that, you know, I'm on the pathway that I need to be on right now. And so while I'm conducting my research, again, going back to not understanding or not really feel like I'm fitting in with what the research textbook and what the course is talking about, I reach out to my other mentors, and I voice my struggles, like, what is axiology, what is ontology and epistemology, like, what are these big words, and I'm having trouble understanding them. And that's when I learned that, thanks to Victoria, that testimonial is a valid form of research methodology, and I don't have to try to delve into the dominant forms of research paradigms like qualitative research and all those big words to try to fit what something so sacred, which is the voice of my family, of my ancestors, into something so Western. And it felt great. And so growing up, I've always, we're raised with stories. We're raised with the stories of our grandparents and our tios and tias. And we learn life lessons in those stories, whether they're about La Llorona or Pigman in City Park, or, or even how the uncles got so drunk at the wedding and this happened. They're there to teach us stories. And of course I had this understanding, but again, going into the world of research and conducting literature reviews, to see the work of other Chicanos, Chicanes, talking about the importance of oral storytelling as a valid form of epistemology, how we learn things, and research methodology, my mind was blown. I was like, this is amazing, and this is why I need to be in these spaces, because these researchers are often so overlooked, or their work is challenged by the dominant, those in the ivory towers and the dominant perspectives within higher education. And so during my literature review and read the work of those before me, I was really able to understand storytelling in the ways of knowledge production and knowledge sharing, and just how powerful and special it is. We carry on cultural pride in these stories. In my family's storybook, it talks about how they survived the revolution in Mexico, and how they walked. My great-great-grandmother walked by foot, and even the men, they were walking by foot from pueblo to pueblo looking for work. Times were so hard, they were just trying to make whatever money they could, and so they eventually ended up walking by foot to Texas, and they came here, and that's how our family eventually wound up in Pueblo. But when I was reading those stories, because they did start off as testimonial, as oral stories, I felt this immense sense of pride, of knowing where I come from, and knowing the sacrifices and the prayers, the blood, sweat, and tears that got us here, got my family here, and me here. And when you have understanding of where you come from, of where your roots are, and that cultural pride is born and blossomed, it further propels you into giving back to your community, into finding your voice against the injustices, against the oppression that your communities and your people continue to be under. And so for me, oral storytelling, it's more than just telling stories for entertainment. It's cultural survival, it's cultural resilience, it's resistance, and that is what oral stories are to me.
So I think something which unfortunately in 2020, the mural was painted over with white paint by new building tenants. So the new marijuana dispensary that moved into the building whitewashed Ysabelle. So there was a lot of outcry from the local community, the artists themselves, and especially the Chicanoa X Murals of Colorado project, which ultimately prompted a restoration process that had never been done in Colorado before. So this process was funded by the whitewashers of the original mural to rectify their harm caused. So they essentially, the artists and through the Chicano Murals Colorado project flew out to California to learn this new tactic. It's basically like a sealant kind of painted over the whitewashing of the mural, and then it melted away that top layer of white paint to reveal the original mural, which was a bit damaged, so that we repainted it and restored it, and then luckily in the summer of 2023, so now 2 years ago already, there was the unveiling of the new live. So the public celebration that was held by CMCP began with a blessing by Grupo Tlaloc, which is a local Northside Aztec danza group who performed ceremony and dance to reawaken Huitzilopochtli. So this restoration celebration was simultaneously materially reclaiming the public space that we were being excluded from the mural being destroyed. And so the physical restoration of the mural reclaimed that public space. And then it also enacted a form of symbolic reclamation through that reterritorialization of Chicano public space. And then it also just enacted a spiritual reclamation because there was performance and practice of ceremony at the restoration celebration. So like in this case, to me, through murals, recovery is twofold. It's first through that initial whitewashing. It's a recovery of the mural through new restoration tactics. And then it's also community healing as a recovery from the violences of coloniality. And I really find that through this example with Huitzilopochtli, it's one instance of the many ways that murals have been really healing to our community.
Okay, I really liked what you said about the murals. I wrote something down about that too. But I think that murals that are made by Chicano artists, that they showcase the beauty of our culture that we see, and then it's able to show the rest of the world how we see ourselves. So I think that there's a bit of healing in that all by itself. But I think that art and storytelling help communities to process their historical trauma and reclaim their cultural identity by giving voice to the silenced histories, and while also validating experiences of the people who lived through those histories as well. It preserves our traditions that deserve to be passed down through generations. There's so many family stories that I have learned from my family, and those stories carry tradition that are passed on from generation to generation. Without those stories, I wouldn't know what they even are to begin with, and I wouldn't be who I am today.
What issues in your community are on the top of your mind at the moment?
So, one of the issues in the community that is on the top of my mind right now is mental health awareness, especially mental health awareness in our youth. I think that there's sometimes a very large generational stigma that kind of comes with asking for help and asking for that support when you need it. A way that I think that we could fix this is expanding the publicity of resources in our schools, workplaces, and establishments, because it's not only youth who experiences mental health issues, but there are so many free, credible, and reliable resources that are available to us, and sometimes we don't even know how to access them. So with doing that and using platform to kind of expand those resources, I think that could definitely help. I know that BetterHelp, it's an organization that specializes in therapy. They offer a few free mental health and therapy sessions to youth free of charge. So if more people know about that, then I think that we could definitely begin to fix that problem.
dropped to 37% in 2010. And then most recently in 2020, it dropped to 16% Hispanic identifying. So this indicates that only in the past around 2 decades since the North Side began to gentrify in the early 2000s, the self-identified Hispanic population has dropped by a staggering 75%, which is roughly 3 out of 4 Hispanic identifying residents have been forced to leave the neighborhood over the course of the 20-year period. So these rates are especially alarming due to the cultural place-based identity that's woven into the North Side and is ultimately embodied through these long-time North Side residents, which is extracted and erased with the displacement of Hispanic descent community members. And more often than not, this reality feels like we're being colonized again. Like mine and like many of your own families have been in southern Colorado, northern New Mexico for generations and have experienced that double colonization. So it's very reminiscent of that, because for me, gentrification is a modern day manifestation of the continued dominance of Anglo-American settler colonialism, and Western colonialism as a whole just really relies on the ordering of space and the dividing of individuals, especially through racialization. So we see this in our urban centers through these really segregated neighborhoods, especially in my case, with the North Side being predominantly Hispanic identifying. There's a significant, this is just reflected across the board. And so this is seen in our neighborhoods, of course, and then in terms of its connection to settler colonialism, it's different from other forms of colonialism because settlers are coming with the intentions of making a new home on the land. So this is seen, especially in my opinion, through the destruction of Chicano murals, because we're just completely erasing the culture that has been in our neighborhoods for generations at this point. And so I think that would be my main struggle that we're facing. Thank you.
What to say when you know what's going on in our world and with our earth, right? It's a very loaded question for me. What's always at the top of my mind, though, is the collective well-being of our shared earth. I feel not just the responsibility as a Chicana and Indigenous woman to constantly be educated and aware of what's going on in the world around me, but also here, right, in our communities. Driving down the street and seeing our houseless neighbors and understanding why they're in that position they're in, and trying to do what we can to educate our elected officials, our city council, our county commissioners on how to help heal and solve the issues of poverty, of mental health, of substance abuse, which are all interconnected to another, and really they are all the symptoms of colonization. What also stays on my mind, because I do have a mixed family when it comes to documentation, and I want to remind everyone that there is no such thing as an alien, right? We're all human, and no one can be illegal on stolen land. And so when I see the videos from around this country of people and communities being terrorized, I'm gonna try my hardest to get through this answer without crying, but when I see these videos, of course, I'm filled with rage, but I'm also filled with the reminders of why the activism, and I don't really like to use the word activist because it's just simply existing, right, in this world, but it's a reminder of why our activism is important and how even the littlest things like know your rights trainings and educating people on the Colorado Rapid Response Network, why those are all important, because it's helping and protecting our communities. On that though, I also want to use my platform and my voice because there's many in the world who do not have that right now or whose voices and pleas are being ignored right now. And I want to remind everyone that our shared struggles are deeply interconnected, whether it be Latin Americans being terrorized with ICE, whether it be the suffering we see in the Congo for the mining of the minerals that we use in our technology, or whether it be the Palestinians right now in Gaza suffering from a man-made famine. We are all interconnected, and our liberation is based upon one another. It is important that we all use our voices whenever we can, wherever we can, even though I know it can be scary. It is vital we use our voices to raise awareness for these struggles. I've been asked before, why do I bring up Palestine when I'm speaking about my people or when I'm speaking about ICE terrorizing communities? The technology that ICE and Homeland Security uses is because Israel has tested it first on the Palestinians within the occupied West Bank and within Gaza. Therefore, that directly links our people to one another. We are both, us Latin Americans and Palestinians, are indigenous to the lands in which we live upon, yet we are made out to be the criminals. Any resistance, no matter which form, is seen as terrorism or anti-government. And so Palestine and indigenous sovereignty and climate change, those will always be the top three things on my mind 24/7. And again, understanding my history and my indigenous ancestry and my indigenous legacy and stories, I see the genocide happening in Palestine right now, and I feel it on a molecular DNA level because I know my ancestors went through it too and continue to go through it as reservations don't have access to clean water or electricity. And so I want to end my answer on a reading a poem. So if Victoria, you could bring my phone up. And I don't know the author of this poem, so if any of you happen to come across it, I would love if you could share that with me so I could get credits. But the poem reads, Solidarity because colonialism looms across borders. Its blueprint carved into lands, languages, and bodies. Solidarity because our oppressions may wear different uniforms, but they march to the same imperial drum. Solidarity because the weapons may change, but the grief sounds the same in every mother tongue. Solidarity because sacred sites are bombed and bulldozed, whether in the desert or the tundra. Solidarity because stolen children, stolen lands, and stolen futures echo through our shared memory. Solidarity because we are not free until all our relatives are free. Thank you.
I'd like to open it up for questions from the audience, if anyone has any questions for our speakers.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jeff Gallegos. I'm representing Adobe de Oro out of the San Luis Valley today. One of the questions that I have for you, and maybe it's more administrative if you might have the answer for it. A lot of the HSI, Hispanic, and Latinx conferences or different events I attend, we always bring it up about how it's always the mamas leading the fight for our inequities, for the injustice towards us. Is there a reason why there's not any men up here on the panel?
It's a logistical thing. No, it's not intentional.
Let's step it up.
Let's
Step it up. We need some male leaders in this fight. Come on, step it up.
Sin mujeres no hay revolución. But yes, we would love to see our men up here with us as well.
Yes. And there were others invited, so this is who's here today. But thank you for that question. And yes, that is always on our mind, and we have tried to balance our speakers in so many ways. So not just gender, but yeah, in all the ways as we can. So, yeah. But thank you for that. We have a question.
Thank you so much. The longest walk ever. I appreciate you. Hi everybody, my name is Jacqueline. I've been Sunsueta. I go by Jax, and I just want to thank you as my colleagues, as being young Latinas, Chicanas, speaking from the heart. I almost cried too, obviously. But I have a question for you. I'm asking with one of my hats on, which is I'm actually running to be the first woman of color under 40 Democrat up the road in El Paso County for District 5. So what I'm encountering, and this is just true facts, is that one of my opponents is a white appearing male who is about 17 years my junior. So I'm actually asking like a generational question. I'm 38, and so I'm like, I'm the old one here. It's very new to me. And I'd just love to hear your thoughts on scenarios like that where young people are stepping up for leadership, but there are differences kind of among our generations, from millennial to Z to alpha, and what are your thoughts on how we're gonna work together, because this conference is about the future, and the future is Latina, you know? Thank you.
Well, congratulations on your position for running for office and everything. I think for me, a lot of times, especially now, what I look for in my elected officials is like their awareness of what is going on in our world and how they are interconnected. Like as Bree brought up earlier, I think a really big stance for me now is also an elected official's position on Palestine. Especially as I had mentioned earlier, as it connects to my lived reality with combating gentrification on the north side. As I said, like this is a manifestation of modern day settler colonialism and Western imperialism, and that is exactly what is going on in Palestine right now. The US government is funding the genocide of the Palestinian people through the Israeli apartheid state, and that's something that I personally really, really look out for, the language that elected officials use in regards to that. If they'll even say Palestine, or if they're really just like calling this a war, or simply just a conflict in the Middle East, or are only saying Gaza. Like, I think those are really, really glaring signals for how we align. And I think more than ever, it's really evident the way that our government is not representative of our community and of how we want to structure things. I think there needs to be some very serious policy change. And I think in order to connect with younger generations, it needs to work directly with them on the issues that are like most prevalent to them. And I really do think that this is one of the main ones.
Hi. First off, congratulations again. That is so awesome. That's about like what it means for me to see you in this position as well. Like I had mentioned before that representation matters, and it's really, really exciting, like again, to see somebody who looks like me, who has the same values as me, especially as a woman, somebody in a powerful position. So I'm so, so proud of you. That's really so awesome. So yes. But yeah, I just kind of want to talk about like it's so awesome to see you in that position. But I think that a main thing for us too is imposter syndrome. I know that you had kind of talked about that right now, and it's scary. Like it's scary for me right now talking in front of everybody, especially with two super well educated women by my side. But it's really cool to see you, and I want you to know that like don't feel that way in that room. So, yeah.
What position did you say you're running for?
County Commissioner.
Oh, okay, perfect. So, yes, felicidades, congrats. I want to just echo what my compañera here said. Really engage with the younger generations. For me personally, age is never a relevant factor. I want to know where your morals are at. I want to know your story, and I want to know how much you're engaging with the community you're hoping to serve in. And so really just attending community events, and again, asking people, asking the youth, what do they care most about? And really, educating and decolonizing as much as you can yourself. I think it's important when we step up to these positions of political power that we take on the responsibility of decolonizing as much as we can. And again, I really love what my two compañeras said. And yeah, Palestine is the number one thing for me. And there's so much you could educate yourself on. I'm still educating myself on it. And it's, decolonizing is a never-ending path. Many of us call it the red road. And so when you get on the red road, that's your individual journey, and that's your journey of unlearning everything that has been ingrained within us in hopes of helping rebuild and really reinforce that brighter future. So congratulations, and I wish you all the best of luck.
We have time for one more question, if anybody has any questions.
Hello, my name is Aztlán. So I work here in administration at CSU Pueblo, and so regardless of what the next administration wants to do with HSIs and Title V and everything, we will be a Hispanic served institution. My question to you all is, we're in an opportune time where we're going to be getting a new president and whatnot. What is your advice to us in terms of what CSU Pueblo's role should be and the work that we should be doing in the community moving forward, especially knowing what's happening in the future? You tell us what we should be doing.
I think the answer for this is very similar to the previous question we just answered. But also, if you haven't yet, I would read Gina Garcia's book about Hispanic serving institutions and what it really means, or what it's supposed to mean to be a Hispanic serving institution. And resistance, activism, social justice, community, those are all some of the main pillars of being in, what is it, HSI? I don't know the abbreviation. Yes, those are some of the main pillars. And so I think you're already off to a good start by asking students, what could you do? And I think that is the main thing you could continue to do moving forward is asking students, how can I carry your hopes and your voices forward?
I agree. I think in knowing that CSUP is, and as you said, will continue to be an HSI, I think that really also comes actually once you have like a new president, like continuing that relationship between student and administration, especially just like being able to provide space for students to voice their issues and to directly communicate them, I think is really, really beneficial. I think also, again, to just really, really voice the answers to previous questions too. I really do think that it's imperative that universities, educators, and students alike, and more broadly the Chicana community at large, amplify the voices of our Palestinian brothers and sisters. And to me, at a higher education level, this really looks like divestment from as a whole, from like the colonial machine, from the military industrial complex, from these organizations that are funding this genocide. And I think to me that is really, really a way to connect with students, especially as our struggles against the colonial machine are directly connected.
Yes.
Hi. I agree completely with what these lovely ladies said. I think that you guys are already doing a really great job asking us to as well. But I think also like the only thing that I can say is to continue creating these spaces where students can voice their opinion and voice the things that they believe in and the issues that they find important. And also